this is the first super game of the season, really. It all gets a bit congested in here. The ball comes to Zubimendi, he reads it, and straight away he pops it in there for Saka to run through and score.
A key player in this battle against Liverpool.
Arsenal are going to get a lot of joy in these areas from inside to out, from counter-attacking with Madueke and Eze if Liverpool don't get that balance right.
Liverpool host Arsenal in this week's Super Sunday, with both teams defending a perfect start to the Premier League campaign. Liverpool fresh off the back of that 3-2 smash and grab at Newcastle on Bank Holiday Monday night, while Arsenal rolled over Leeds United at the Emirates on Saturday, 5-0, and Victor Gyökeres getting off the mark. I'm Will Pugh. We are back in the Tactics Exposed Team Talk studio. Alongside me is Sun Sports tactical guru Dean Scoggins. Dean, brilliant to see you again, mate. Huge game on Sunday, the second for Liverpool in a row of playing big teams in their pursuit of another Premier League title. How's it going? What do you think of the game?
Yeah, it's a massive game, isn't it? This is the first super game of the season, really, with the two title challenges going head to head. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how Liverpool try and work with Arsenal's physicality after how much they struggled with Newcastle's last week.
Absolutely, mate. Not considering Arsenal versus Manchester United a super game anymore.
Not anymore. Not anymore.
How things have changed. Dino, right, as always on Team Talk in partnership with Betfair, we answer your questions week in, week out about the biggest game of the weekend upcoming. And question number one, Dino, ahead of this massive encounter, nice and simple. How did Liverpool stop Eberechi Eze after Arsenal snatched him away from your beloved Tottenham Hotspur?
Yeah, I thought you might throw that one in there. Yeah, no, I don't need him anymore after that win at Man City.
Exactly.
No, absolutely. I would have rather him been lining up for Tottenham than Arsenal. But anyway, how do you stop Eze? Very, very difficult with the ball at his feet for a start. But from a tactical perspective, I really think Liverpool have got a problem this week. And it came from the Newcastle game last week, where the imbalance and the shape of their team was all over the place. And what I think we're going to see is Arteta trying to invite on Liverpool's fullbacks and midfield players so that they can then spring a counter-attack.
I'll tell you what, Dino, let's start. By the way, if you haven't watched it already, go and watch Monday's episode of Tactics Exposed, where we broke down that Liverpool versus Newcastle game, thrilling encounter as it was, and it was a very brilliant episode indeed. So go and have a watch of that. Just let's start, Dino. We've got Arsenal, the white counters over here. Where's Eze going to start?
I think Eze is going to start on the left over in this position here, because we fully expect Bukayo Saka to be injured and missing in this game. So whereas Noni Madueke played in this position last week against Leeds, I know a few Arsenal fans might want to see Max Dowman over here, or, after his thrilling introduction. But I think most likely we'll see Noni Madueke switch wings to play in the position that he was most familiar with at Chelsea.
i.e. right wing.
Right wing, and then Eze comes in on that left-hand side. So, and then the midfield three of Zubimendi, Odegaard and Rice stays the same. Obviously, Gyökeres up front, all being well. And then the back four, interchangeable right back of White or Timber, the two centre-backs. And then either Lewis Skelly or Calafiori, which I'll come on to in a moment. But let's just move Liverpool into an attacking shape, okay? So they'll press with four up, so probably Ekitike and Wirtz. And then on the left-hand side, most likely Cody Gakpo, and obviously Mo Salah over there. So we'll push them up into a shape. What they've been doing, Liverpool, is pushing midfield players on, and they've had real problems with that balance so far. So where last season it was always Gravenberch and McAllister, obviously they missed McAllister through injury in one game, and Gravenberch before that. So they haven't had them as a pair. They'll be desperately hoping they have them as a pair this week for this reason, okay? Because what's been happening is that Gyökeres hasn't really bombed on yet, okay? When he did bomb on, he went into this position here, and they were ready for a counter-attack here. So we saw Semenya, Robertson pushed on there as well. We saw Semenya for Bournemouth going this way. So against Newcastle, Gyökeres was a little bit stuck, played in that position there, and then it was Konate who picked up so that Van Dijk can be the free man. And then straight away, here we go. We're going to highlight here. We've got right back and Eze. Yep. Okay? So what's been happening is Szoboszlai, who played there against Newcastle, would go that way into midfield, right? So cat and mouse game. Does Eze go with him or does he stay out there? And then in the previous game where Frimpong played against Bournemouth, he was going up here, which allows Mo Salah to go in. Again, game of chicken, cat and mouse, however you want to call it, in this area here where Eze wants to go that way.
So realistically then, Dino, Szoboszlai did a perfectly fine job at right back. Obviously, Liverpool looked much improved when he stepped into midfield against Newcastle. Realistically, that would feel a little bit unwise to put Szoboszlai against Eberechi Eze in that right-back position.
Yeah, I mean, Szoboszlai, very, very good 1v1 defender, whatever area in the field he's in, but positionally not as familiar. So what was happening a lot in the Newcastle game was just drop this back in.
But do you think, sorry, my point was, do you think he'll play?
No, well, I think it'll be Conor Bradley here, which I'm going to, yeah, absolutely, I'll come on to that. What was happening is, against Newcastle, is that they were forming a back three, which Newcastle were pressing on, and then Szoboszlai was coming in here because naturally to him it was an inverted position. Well, if you turn that around against an Arsenal attack where Eze's going to drop into this position here and start position there, Gyökeres is obviously going to occupy, this space is there to be hit. So what I think will happen is either Mars Lewis-Skelly or Calafiori, what they'll be trying to do is be brave by leaving Salah, so that then you can push the left back on and Eze will push into that position to get closer to Gyökeres and leave this space for the full-back to go into. So it's very, very difficult. But yeah, you mentioned there, I think they'll go Conor Bradley because if McAllister is not fit to play, the way they played in midfield last week, they need Szoboszlai back in midfield to play off Wirtz and therefore just go man v man and put a right back, Conor Bradley. If Frimpong returns, then fine, but Conor Bradley or Frimpong play man v man on him and just do not allow it to be interchangeable positions. Just stick with Eze.
So is that the answer then, just from Conor Bradley, or how else will his Liverpool teammates or how else will Arne Slot be sort of gearing up to sort of make allowances for Eze?
Well, where Liverpool have struggled so far this season, and I think that's a lot down to this position here where they've not had McAllister and Gravenberch together, is this breakdown area on the edge of the area. So let's look, Arsenal will at times defend very deep. So we push Liverpool right on to 4v4, and then obviously Arsenal will drop Zubimendi in here and Rice will come in, and they might even form a two at times in there like that, okay? Which then means Liverpool have been quite brave and they're pushing players on. So let's push the full-backs on almost to a front six, okay? And where last week, so two up there, and obviously he's going to track and he's going to track, okay? But where last week...
Well, just very quickly, you will expect that, will you, Eze and Madueke to be tracking?
They'll have to at times at Anfield. They'll absolutely have to. And look, Martinelli's done a great job there for Arsenal in previous years in games doing that and tracking back. But they'll have to. But if Liverpool, what they've done in other games is form this front six, and you straight away see that and it was a little bit brave, but also naive, because Slot talks a lot about one can go. One can go. So let's just say Kirkes bombs on this side and he's tracked back by Madueke there. That's when you expect the right back not to go. Because then in transition, you lose the ball in this area here, in this square here, and then all the white counters and all the Arsenal players are going to bomb forward this way. Then this right back is here for the change of possession and to jump into that position. Whereas if he's up here and you lose the ball in this position here, what happened in the Bournemouth game was they only ended up with three players in that area, including the two centre-backs. And then we saw Semenya go that way. We saw, I think it was Brooks go this way. And then all of a sudden they're outnumbered. So they've found a real problem with the balance there.
What you're talking about there, though, and when this player was back in that position, is going to be when the ball is being brought forward or progressed down the left-hand side for Liverpool.
Sometimes, but there was a moment in the Bournemouth game, that's a really good question, a really good point, is that there was a moment in the Bournemouth game where Szoboszlai had the ball here and he's breaking through midfield. So there was three defenders here and he's breaking through midfield. And both fullbacks at the same time have gone like that. And that's not the end of the world if you've then got another midfielder who's going to drop in. But Florian Wirtz has gone forward as well, as you want him to. And Slot said this is the way they want to be and they want to play. But Arsenal are going to get a lot of joy in these areas from inside to out, from counter-attacking with Madueke and Eze if Liverpool don't get that balance right.
Absolutely. Right, question number 2. Dino, obviously Arsenal have got loads of other good players on the pitch as well. Martin Zubimendi being one of them. But we are asked here, Dino, or you are asked, has Zubimendi actually improved Arsenal?
Well, the short answer to that is yes. I mean, he's got one of the signings of the summer, if you ask me. But I can see why it's been asked, because you think he's gone under the radar so far. But there was one moment against Leeds, which was Arsenal's Arteta's perfect goal. Arteta has been criticised heavily often for not committing enough players forward, and it always being thought about that counter-attack before you think about the attack, okay? So be set up so that you can't be counter-attacked against. And that, as we just talked about there with Liverpool, where they got the balance the wrong way, Arsenal often get the balance the wrong way in the opposite direction. So I've got them set up here in an attacking shape again. So I've intentionally left the Arsenal fullbacks back here because, you know, if you're going to play against Gakpo, Salah, Wirtz and also Ekitike, there's going to have to be a little bit of give there, okay? But what often would happen with Arsenal in previous encounters is we get a winger out one side, Saka, Odegaard in this area, and then you end up with, you know, it was Havertz before Gyökeres came, and then you've got 5 attackers, 2 back, outnumbered. Okay, so because always this player here, which is now Zubimendi and was Thomas Partey, he is sitting back in this zone, working this area, depending on what side the ball is, to make sure they can't be counter-attacked against. So
because Arteta detests getting beaten in transition.
Hates it. So if then the left-back wins the ball and plays it straight into a player here, he's across. We've got an overload, okay? Played into a number 10's feet. He's across, he doesn't have to press, he can hold his line, 2v1 here, another overload, okay? So that's why they do it. But where I've been so impressed by Zubimendi straight away is against Manchester United, he did this as well, and also the goal against Leeds, right? So Leeds win it back in this area, Zubimendi comes in here. Nothing genius about that. That's just your number 6.
Tracking over to where the play is.
But where I think he's an upgrade on Thomas Partey already is what happens. It all gets a bit congested in here and all gets a bit broken down against Leeds. The ball comes to Zubimendi here from a Leeds pass out. He reads it and straight away he pops it in there for Saka to run through and score. It was a beautiful cushioned pass, and if that's a little preview of what we're going to get from Zubimendi, then really beware Arsenal in transition, because if they all of a sudden are going to become as dangerous when they lose the ball as they are when they've got it.
Yeah, so a key player in this battle against Liverpool, and transitions are going to be a huge part of this game, no doubt, Dino. Question number 3 coming up on the screen. Has Florian Wirtz upset Liverpool's balance? A British record transfer fee, £116.5 million, I believe it was, to bring him from Bayer Leverkusen. Huge money. Has hardly started repaying that just yet.
No, he hasn't. It's been a bit frustrating for him. He's obviously a top-class footballer, right? There's no getting away from it. I'm sure he's going to settle in. He's struggled with the physicality so far. You can say that he's an international footballer, but the Premier League is a duelling fest above anything else that he's seen before.
Next level.
Yeah, and obviously we saw that at Newcastle at the weekend, and Bournemouth, you know, gave him a good old roughing up in that first game as well. So he'll adapt to that, no problems. But the question's about balance, okay? And I can see why that is being asked as well, because again, we often talked about last season how Liverpool were brilliant at the 4-2-4 press, okay? So if Arsenal were dropped into a shape, then the way they played last season, Liverpool, was they'd have a 4-man attacking press like that.
And then Gravenberch and Szoboszlai doing this.
Gravenberch and Szoboszlai or McAllister doing that. And then obviously the fullbacks would join in as well. So the balance was very, very much that shape. What we've seen so far is that the Gakpo's almost not quite sure what Wirtz is going to do at the moment because they haven't played together enough. It's going to change. So where Gakpo and Diaz were very, very quick to interchange in that position. Very, very easily done. What's happening here is Gakpo doesn't quite know where he's going to go. Wirtz is pressing the ball. Ekitike would then go this way. And then we're seeing Mo Salah isolated, really, really isolated on that wing. His touches against Newcastle were just in this area here, no danger whatsoever, and it is all on his own. So it's almost like Wirtz being more of a 10 and it is upsetting Liverpool from an attacking shape as well as a defensive one, because whereas Szoboszlai, Gakpo, Diaz, whoever it was last year, were joining as a second centre forward, they're trying to get Florian Wirtz in a number 10 position. So let's just drop it in an Arsenal defensive shape. where Zubimendi might pick him up, Rice and Odegaard will come in, and the wingers will step back. Where the number 10 wants to operate is in this channel here.
Sure.
So he wants to, in between the lines, operate, okay? But Ekitike is going this way, Gakpo's going that way, and obviously Salah wants to try and get in here, and it's getting very, very condensed in those lines. So Wirtz is struggling to find where to operate in those positions. And a lot of the time against Bournemouth and against Newcastle, he did some good stuff. Don't get me wrong, there was some good little link-up play, but it's so tight. So what I'm fully expecting Liverpool to try and do in this game is much more, be a bit more direct, as we've talked about a lot, and try and get and manufacture a position where they can play from one of the fullbacks, let's say it's from the left back, they're going to create an open channel in here so Ekitike can go in and then Wirtz is going to operate like in a little tandem with him here. So to get much closer to him to play as a 2. And then again, if it comes from the right back, Ekitike comes in here and then the ball can go directly in here to play off. And that's what Liverpool haven't done yet. Those relationships aren't quite there. So yes, I think the balance has been upset, but they're new players playing together.
If, as we've seen so far this season, Dino, it's not really working for Florian Wirtz against Arsenal, for Liverpool generally, what weapons does Arne Slot have in his arsenal to make an impact on the game and change it involving Wirtz?
Yeah, I mean, you've obviously got the young lad Rio Ngamoa to come on if that's the case. That's the
obvious answer after Monday.
Yeah,
night.
well, I mean, if he comes on and does that, then then that's very much the case. But I was also impressed by Harvey Elliott, the way he came on in that game as well, and what they've got the capability of doing. Liverpool is they could even get Salah to go and join Ekitike, and then if you bring on a Curtis Jones or you've brought on Harvey Elliott, you've got sort of a compact midfield 4 where they can go into a box shape in midfield with 2 attacking midfielders and 2 defensive midfielders. But again, if they want to, obviously Salah prefers it over here, Ngamoa is an option from that left-hand side, and they can also make it, let's say McAllister is fit and plays, then they've got Gravenberch, McAllister and Szoboszlai, or Curtis Jones and Harvey Elliott, and that beefs them up in a midfield 3 against the midfield 3 of Arsenal.
Yeah, and you'd see sort of Wirtz coming off in that situation.
Possibly, yeah, or you could move Wirtz out to the left-hand side and bring on Curtis Jones or Harvey Elliott as the man to beef up the midfield 3.
Absolutely. Well, don't forget, with Betfair's Safe Sub, your bet is not over yet if your player comes off. It rolls on to the player coming on. So if you've backed Florian Wirtz to score first or to be carded, and he comes off and gets replaced by any of those players that Dino just mentioned, and they score or get the card that you backed Wirtz for, you still get paid out. Dino, it's going to be an absolutely exhilarating encounter at Anfield on Sunday afternoon, particularly from a tactical perspective, as it always is when 2 giants come together in the Premier League these days. What way do you see it going?
I think the Anfield factor, I'm seeing a draw, maybe a Desmond.